Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this movie review, I am going to be talking about the latest Sonic movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, that has come out for this year, and then a month and a half later, pretty quick, right? A month and a half later, they already have come out recently with the digital version slash also the streaming version as well, which is only available on Paramount Plus and some other places, but mainly Paramount Plus for sure. And I definitely was waiting for this to arrive in the streaming version because wanted to watch it in the comfort of my home. I've heard many things during the theatrical release of Sonic 2, and they were mostly positive things, mixed here and there, but mostly positive. And it was relieving to hear in saying that people, hearing that people really liked it in comparison to the first one as well. One of my close friends who is a huge Sonic fan was super satisfied with it for the most part, and that already was to me, a good sign. And recently, of course, I had to burn my free trial for Paramount Plus to check out this movie. So you can definitely check out this movie with a free trial. I definitely highly recommend it because I really liked it for the most part. I'd say better than the first one. Not a lot, but there are some positive sort of qualities for both of these movies. But overall, it's something to be expected. You have more material to work with, especially you have Knuckles and Tails debuting in the same movie. So there is a lot to look forward to in this movie, and I think it pays off for the most part. But unfortunately, it does have very apparent faults in this movie. But I do want to go over just the movie by itself without spoiling things, and of course I'll go into spoiler territory after I give it my score. So for those who have not quite watched the movie just yet, you can definitely stick around for right now. But before I do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps out, and I do appreciate it. And don't forget to turn on YouTube notifications. That really diminishes anything that people say about those reminders, unless you have that actual thing on. So yeah, let me remind you guys about that. But I do appreciate it no less. So let me get into my overall thoughts for the movie. Now, first off, yes, I think it was a better movie. I really didn't like how they went about with the characters, Sonic and his friends. I think they had a pretty good amount of screen time for the most part, especially with Sonic and Tails. I did wish a little more from Knuckles, especially with his backstory. I wish they touched upon it a little more. Some of the pacing was a bit much in some areas. There's going to be two major sort of scenes that have, for the most part, little to do with Sonic as a whole. You could definitely live without it. It could have been written a lot differently, which I will go over in the spoiler section. But there are two major scenes, at least for me anyway, that kind of took up time that could have been written a lot smoother, and it could have taken less time. And that time that you saved, that could have been, that could have gone into Tails and more into Knuckles, of course. There's some of the backstory that was provided for, or the lore that's providing for this movie universe, especially with the echidnas and Longclaw's like clan or whatever. That sort of backstory could have been more emphasized for the movie to help establish the world a little more. I do like world establishment whenever I'm watching or reading something, especially in comics and manga and stuff like that. Movies is definitely no exception, and I definitely wish for more of that in this movie. It does have potential, and it does have the material for it, but they kind of failed to sort of expand upon it, and instead they put time into the parts with the humans, and I think it was pretty unnecessary for the most part. But let's focus on Sonic. What was presented with Sonic and the crew. I do like how Sonic is portrayed here, and not only that though, even though I do have some conflicting feelings about the human cast, I do like I think it was Tom, was it? James Marsden's character. He's pretty much like the foster or adoptive dad for the most part for Sonic, and I do like his role here. I felt like he wasn't like much of a headache. I also do like I think it was Maddie, his wife. Maddie is a fun time whenever she's around. Very like you definitely would like her to like to have her around. That's the kind of friend that she is for Sonic and the crew. Very just caregiving and stuff like that. She is a veteran, right? Or not veteran, veterinarian, excuse me. And so she obviously has a kind of a reason to care for the animals and stuff like that, and care for Sonic at least to say. And I still do like her around whenever she is on the screen. I don't mind her, definitely. I can definitely more than tolerate her. But that's just my opinion anyway. When it comes to some of the more side characters, the human side characters, they could definitely be written out or do without. But I guess it is what it is. Maddie's sister, I forget her name, but she while she can be annoying for a number of people, at least on the surface level anyway. I kind of do miss that trope in movies where you have like that sassy black woman, So to me, she was pretty funny. I don't know if it would like be needed all that much for a Sonic movie, but for what was presented here, it kind of did remind me of like that time when there was a lot of sassy black woman characters in the 90s and early 2000s. So it makes me do wish or miss those sort of days, and it does remind me here definitely. Maybe I don't watch enough of some comedy movies, but nowadays I guess. But I definitely got that feeling whenever I saw that character on screen, and it definitely makes me think about those days in movies. The comedy, the humor, it was kind of a mixed bag. I felt like the jokes did a little better in the first movie. You have I'm gonna spoil this though. Robotnik does the floss, one of those Fortnite dances with the arms, and I can't do it here obviously, but I think people know the floss at this point. It's a very common dance in Fortnite. He does that somewhere early in the movie, and it really kind of like sets the tone for like the rest of the humor in the movie. I always kind of sort of like try to keep an open mind when it comes to those sort of things, because I'm at that point, I'm past 30, and I know there's going to be movies that are going to be, be written with such humor, such type of humor, or such class of humor that's going to be catered towards kids. And although I feel like maybe just a bias anyway with the generation thing, but maybe in the 90s it was done better. It was done way better with smart writers and such. I felt like the writers here were kind of just like very much like looking at a dartboard and just throwing at things, and they're like, oh, all right, let's include this dance. Okay, let's include this scene, this type of scene. I think this definitely needs to be worked on better. They do make a lot of like pop culture references and stuff like that, kind of like with the recent Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie on Disney Plus. I just watched that, and it does remind me of that much here too. Although that one, Chip and Dale does it a little more towards on the like mature side of things. Not that like it involves with like certain terms, but it I felt like I was giggling or like kind of smiling the whole way in comparison to Sonic anyway. But what made me smile though for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 though was the amount of the game kind of translated into this movie for the most part. I love the speed, the the lore of the Master Emerald and such now being featured into here, and I figured it was time to feature the emeralds into the mix of the Sonic universe. It's a pretty central part of the Sonic backstory because it provides some sort of like goal for the video games to collect them. Right, you always have to collect the emeralds. It's kind of like the same importance with the Dragon Balls. Why is the why is the series called Dragon Ball? Well, the Dragon Balls. We didn't know. Although nowadays I feel like that's like very much irrelevant in comparison to the old Dragon Ball, and the new Dragon Ball stuff kind of plays less with the Dragon Balls. But to some extent, I guess there are some parts where, yes, it does play some roles in the story. But anyway, back onto Sonic here. Yes, the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald do play a part here. Not going into much detail about it, but there is like history behind it, which I do like. I like history and stuff like world history and such within the world of the movie, and they do a pretty good job with that. I wish just for more though, because of the time spent with other stuff. But for what was established here, I do like it. It does feel like a Sonic. It does feel like Sonic material. And I do like the amount of love that was put into these parts. They definitely do make a lot of like other video game references from Sonic, of course, including the poses, which I won't point out specifically, but they do the poses. At least Sonic does in some parts in the movie, and I that it made me smile when he does that. And I was like, wow, it was pretty cool. There are some other references they do make with the quotes. Sonic says "gotta go fast" somewhere in the movie, which is pretty cool. But importantly, when it comes to Tails and Knuckles, let me start with Tails. I thought Tails was done right. In the past, people think of him as like the annoying, bumbling sort of kid sidekick for Sonic, and always got in the way in the older material, especially in the games, the old games. And I always thought it was kind of funny, but I think though they have gotten better with Tails over time. He is definitely useful in a lot of ways, and utilizing his skills and stuff like that. He had the right balance of like that cowardice but naivete and like inexperience with his valor and bravery and courage. I definitely did felt that from Tails. He's willing to take risks and stuff like that, which I did like. So I do like this Tails, and I do like the fact that I forget her name, but Colleen Shaughnessy, I think her name is, forgive me, is definitely doing a great job with Tails, especially in the movie. It's nice to hear at least one of the video game voices in the movie. So hearing Tails of all people with the video game voice is pretty nice. Definitely deserves more credit, because voice actors tend to get less credit than like the celebrities that you see on like TV and movies. And I feel like needs to get worked on for not just here, but like in general. But I think here they did credit her, at least to some extent, in the movie posters and such. But yeah, I think she definitely deserves, that sort of that same recognition, definitely. But back to Tails himself. Great job. I think he looked great in terms of design. The actual tails that he uses to fly around looked natural in the movie. It looked great. It animated just fine. Not too much like emphasis on his tails beyond him flying and stuff like that. There are some moments where he uses tails other than flying to, as a part of his character. But maybe in the next movie we'll be seeing more of that. I like it though that he does have gadgets, and some of his gadgets quite don't work well, just like in the video games. So I do like that sort of touch. I think it's pretty funny, and I think it's fine, for the sake of like kicking up a side story and such, which I will go over in the spoiler section of things. So for the most part, I can forgive Tails, definitely. I think he was a great addition to the cast. He wasn't annoying by any means. He was capable. He was fun. Had the right balance of sort of that inexperience, but that willingness to help out Sonic and be his friend, essentially. A buddy, a wingman, if you will. Now when it comes to Knuckles, the other new addition to the cast, I think he was good for the most part. I was hoping something a little different from Idris Elba, but I think Idris did a good job making Knuckles sort of like that fish out of water sort of character. That's the way he is written in this movie. Knuckles is pretty different from the video game. He is definitely more of like a loner, like a lone wolf type of character, and not necessarily like well, I mean, I guess he is naive, but he's not super naive when it comes to social cues and stuff like that. He just prefers to be alone. But in this movie, they do play hard on him being alone from like a loss standpoint. Like he lost his family, he never grew up with friends, that sort of thing, and is inexperienced with that, but in the video games, at least in the older video games anyway, he always is portrayed as like kind of like smarter when it comes to, or wiser when it comes to those areas, and just prefers to be alone, like especially when he's guarding the Master Emerald. That's just that character, at least I see in Knuckles. But here they do play a lot of his social inexperience, so like the way he talks too is kind of like, oh, I am honorable, that sort of character. And obviously doesn't know how customs work in a lot of places, including Earth, of course. And so whenever he's trying to do the new thing, right, he's like, oh, I'm doing a new thing, he's trying to be cool and stuff like that. And I can accept that from Knuckles, especially with Elba, being the voice behind that sort of character. I do feel like the voice delivery could have used more takes, let's just say. I felt like some of the delivery was a little odd, let's just say. I think part of that too is like him kind of inconsistent with his accent. He's supposed to have some sort of like tribal accent because the Echidna tribe, and so they're trying to like implement that sort of culture with Knuckles, but it just kind of slips in and out, I felt. So maybe in the third movie he'll probably have no accent, since he's like super now associated with Earth, and so probably they'll drop it. But here, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of slipping in and out. I wish they kept it more in, of course, for the sake of like immersion, I guess, or consistency with Knuckles. But I like his power scale. I like his abilities. I liked how he was portrayed for the most part. with this Knuckles. He was written well. They didn't do him injustice and anything like that. I think he had a right amount of power. He had a right amount of like they didn't like fuck him over or anything like that. You know, nothing any of that of the sort. I feel like Marvel movies do that too much with certain characters, especially with Hulk. But with Knuckles here, he was done right, and I do like him for the most part. And I think, yeah, you know, Idris Elba did a good job with this Knuckles. I definitely, though, was expecting something else a bit, but I can definitely accept what was presented here with Knuckles at least. I liked his design too as well, how he was implemented into this world. I liked his interactions with I was going to say Eggman, Robotnik, and I think that sort of dynamic was kind of working. And then, you know, until to a certain point, I thought it just made sense, especially with the kind of character they're writing Knuckles as. And yeah, so not much else to say without trying to spoil things for Knuckles, but for the most part, I really did like Knuckles' presence. I just definitely wish for more of his backstory in order to establish, you know, why he acts this way, why he's like this. It did, but it was super quick, relatively. So again, like the time saved it could have had with certain scenes being cut out or smoothed out and condense it down. They could have used that time to establish at least Knuckles especially, but also Tails as well, to help, you know, give them that sort of rite of passage into this movie, you know, as these two are new characters coming into this movie as their debut. You know, Sonic had his time in his first movie, of course. We know his backstory, you know, with Long Claw and everything. At least enough of it anyway. But I definitely wish for more from Tails and Knuckles. I wish the time utilized could have been put into these two characters more. But anyway, that's just the characters alone. Some of the rest of the movie, it could kind of fall apart depending on where you're coming from. It's hard for me to say without spoiling things, but basically it kind of goes back to where, you know, I wish these two major scenes were kind of condensed down. I'm fine with them existing, but they could have been different at least, or delivered differently, or of course it could have been something else completely, of course. But if we were to work with these scenes that were given in this movie, you know, I'm fine with it. It's just that it definitely needs to be written or packaged differently. So it's hard to explain without spoiling it, but I think some people already know what I'm talking about. But definitely one scene could have been done without, right? And written differently. Sorry if I'm like going around in circles, but it's hard for me to not spoil it and such like that. But it does add to the point where the pacing and some of the time usage for this sort of writing was a problem. I think a bit quite the detriment. And some of the dialogue could have been better too. I wish that they kind of like you know, cater it more towards the fans of the Sonic games rather than just like everyone. You definitely see a lot of like the movie trying to please everyone but pleasing no one, right? I think you have to pick and choose these sort of things when it comes to video game movies. I believe for the most part, of course, you should appeal it to the fans. But for the sake of money, of course, you know, they gotta try to appeal it to everyone. So which is why they do the whole flossing and all the humor comes from, like, you know, the popular stuff, right? You know, Vin Diesel and freaking Batman and, you know, so on and so forth. Oprah even, which was heard from the trailer anyway. So now I do speaking of the trailer though, I do feel like the trailer kind of misrepresented some of the parts, especially with the there was a scene with Tom and Sonic on the boat, the small little boat when they're fishing. That was in the trailer. It definitely felt different once you're watching the movie versus just watching it in the trailer, because they did the whole like the movie the trailer music and then the pausing and then the punchline and then carrying on with the music. It becomes such a like what's the word for it? Like tropey is definitely the word for it. It's just so like it really becomes like a cardboard comedy. It feels like, but once you watch the movie, it with the actual material in there, it does definitely feel more wholesome. It definitely feels like a completely different flavor. So I don't like the misrepresentation that it does have from the trailer to the movie. So that could potentially hurt, the first impressions of people going into this movie too as well. So I think some of the things that people don't talk about, some of the trailers do misrepresent what this movie is going to be. But yes, for the most part, it does have that humor where it's trying to please everyone but not pleasing everyone at the end, especially with the wedding scene and the cabin in the woods scene, as you kind of sort of seen with in the trailer. So again, back to the point, that time saved could have been used for something else. And so the dialogue, some of the dialogue and the humor could have been a little more condensed towards the video game fans, right? They, take some of it, of course, from whatever, right? But I definitely do feel that these writers just aren't cut out for it. I feel maybe those scenes could have been way better if it was written by by different people. But I know I'm like kind of going on a little long with this part, but it just felt like those, because they're kind of like the middle act, it really starts to change up the pace of the movie for the worse. So that's why a lot of people talked about the middle being the worst part, and I definitely agree with that. So as a Sonic fan, that's why I'm kind of going on a bit of a rant here. It definitely does act like a detriment more than anything here. And that's because they're trying to please everyone rather than pleasing a group of people. And I think you can still please everyone while you're pleasing just a group of people, right? Because it's well catered and focused. Everyone else around them are going to see it as, oh, this could be really cool. Oh wow, maybe I should get into this this franchise and see what the rest of the hoopla is all about. And if they don't get it, they don't get it, right? That's just how it goes. That's just how it should go. There's gonna be people who are gonna be like, I don't get it, no matter what you do. Even if you write it for everyone, not everyone's gonna know what the hell the floss is. Not everyone's going to find a lot of these kids type humor funny and such. I guess it really depends on what kind of crowd you're with in the theater. But I've heard mixed things. I heard people laughing in the theater. I heard people not laughing in the theater, like just dead silent. And then some people cheering for them, that sort of thing too. But I guess we can put that aside for right now, because it's better. It would probably be better explained with the spoilers. Now, when it comes to the action and stuff like that, the action was great. It was mostly with the Sonic characters, of course, thankfully, and I thought they were all well shot, well produced, and it definitely like adds up to that Sonic experience with Sonic's speed, Knuckles' power, and even the wits of Tails. I think they showed off all that pretty well for the most part. with these three characters at least. And of course, I cannot forget to talk about Jim Carrey, who is also, the other half when it comes to the action alone. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, once again, he is Dr. Robotnik, right? I feel like he is perfect for this Dr. Robotnik. Now, it could be a little different from media to media, from the cartoon to Sonic X, and then to the video games, of course, and then to the movie here, especially with Jim Carrey at the wheel. And the design alone was great. I love the mustache. That is pretty much like the best live action Dr. Robotnik / Eggman that could have been done so far. And I think honestly, really no one else could really make it better. If anyone else wants to make a Sonic movie, I don't think anyone would do it better. Other than trying to sort of imitate it, I guess. It can only be as good as that design for right now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the outfit maybe could be a little different, but other than that, I like this design of Dr. Robotnik. I keep wanting to say Eggman, but he's Robotnik here. But he does look like Dr. Eggman, so I can't help it, right? He really reminds me of Dr. Eggman in the 3D games and stuff like that, when he was starting to be called Dr. Eggman. He has the goggles, he's got the mustache, he's bald, and the outfit was really cool too. I mean, it makes sense for that setting. I think it fits him well. It fits Jim Carrey like a glove, and you gotta love the Jim Carrey sort of type of comedy that he brings in. Obviously, he had to do the floss, which again does set the tone for the rest of the movie in terms of humor and the jokes and such in between. But I love Jim Carrey here. He definitely continued to be a great Dr. Robotnik. I love his presence in his scenes, especially his dynamic with Knuckles. I loved it. As someone who was a fan of Jim Carrey's stuff in the 90s, with the mask and everything, with the Batman, with him being the Riddler, of course, and Ace Ventura, you name it. I love him here. He always brings that energy. I love that energy, even though he's at a pretty old age, but he still brings it. I think he really likes being Dr. Robotnik, but with the recent news of him wanting to retire or take a break at least, or considering right, as long as Sonic 3 is interesting or fun to him, he'll consider it. So hopefully, with how Sonic 3 is going to be turning out, I do hope he returns. Just him disappearing all of a sudden would definitely stink, but I respect Carrey's sort of wishes. And he did a lot. He definitely did a lot, and he does have his points. So I do understand and see where he's coming from that. But nonetheless, it'd be a damn shame to see him go like that, because I think he's a great Dr. Robotnik, and I don't think there's really too many other people that could really do that. Maybe potentially Bryan Cranston, right? But him on the screen will be pretty different, right? In a good sense, I think, but it'd be drastically different. I don't think he would have the same movements. I don't think he'll have the same delivery. I mean, the voice, yeah, he's like, he can be menacing. He can be like a cool villain. But I don't know if he'll like necessarily fit the flavor of what Sonic and Sonic 2 has already established when it comes to like the overall feel. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens next. But I don't want to spoil anything too much of just Dr. Robotnik alone. But anyway, I love him. He continued to be pretty funny. gotta love Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. It's such a fever dream, right? Of all the people to take up the mantle of Dr. Robotnik, man, Jim Carrey, dude, it's such a weird thing to even like still think about, but it's a reality, man. Twice. And he even rocks the Dr. Eggman look while doing so. So I love it, man. I that alone makes me really love these two movies alone with that. Especially with this second one, because it really shows off the Dr. Eggman look. So that's pretty much it. I know I'm going super long about it, so I do apologize, but I do really want to talk about this movie. So I've been kind of like, really wanting to sit down and talk about it. Now, let me briefly go over the first, second, and third act. Now, I've already mentioned that the second act is definitely the weakest, but the first and the third act are definitely the strongest parts, especially the third. I say that's probably the best one ever in this entire movie. And it really shows off like pretty much like everything else you'd like to see from Sonic movies. Including, well, a giant robot and all that stuff, and what happens next with Sonic and the crew and everything. Especially for those who are familiar with Sonic as a whole, kind of where it goes. But I really did like it. I think for the most part it makes up for everything else, that all the shortcomings, right? And the action was great, like I said, through and through. The sort of the abilities shown off here are definitely best in this part of the movie as well, along with like the action scenes in between too. There are action scenes in the second act that were pretty good, but in terms of like in comparison anyway, probably the weakest of all is the second act. Anyway, I guess at this point, oh right, I actually forgot almost one thing, and that is like my major gripe with this movie, and it's pretty important, especially for those who are fans of the Sonic games. While I can get by the shortcomings of the human characters, the scenes that they set up for the humans and stuff like that. Some say it's like, oh, this is like something from a romantic comedy, then they can just leave it out for the Sonic, the rest of the Sonic movies here and out. My major gripe with this, definitely though, is that the soundtrack. God, the soundtrack was such a missed opportunity for this movie. This movie could have been bam, 10 out of 10 for me. But all those opportunities were just absolute misses when it comes to the music. Like, are you kidding me? Like, there was one scene with Dr. Robotnik, and they could have easily used the Eggman theme from Adventure 2. Oh my God, that could have been so cool. It would have like really brought out that nice, goosebumps and that warm fuzzy feeling I really do like to have with these sort of movies and such, anime, whatever, anything. And it makes me like really scratch my head of like, how did they not tap into the library of Sonic games? They have such awesome music. A lot of them are bangers, especially with the 3D games, man. All the music are bangers, and they just use nada, nothing from the Sonic music soundtrack, which is super disappointing. Not necessarily just like Crush 40 or anything like that, but like all the like, not even Green Hill Zone, like, bro, like, come on. And especially when the action scenes that could have been using something, right? When Sonic was running through a certain area, that could have been so cool. It could have been so cool if they did, use at least some of the tracks from the Sonic video games, like even especially with the key moments, and that could have easily made me forget about all the cons and stuff like that, the negative qualities of the other parts of the movies. And I would have potentially gave it a 10 out of 10 or at least a 9 out of 10 for sure. But they just use like generic cinematic tracks. They use some of the like songs, including Pantera. Like, what? Really? Pantera? Okay, not even Crush 40 for that part. Like, man, it was such a missed opportunity. I really wish they used some certain tracks for certain scenes, which was super disappointing. But other than that, just to wrap up this part of the review, I think it's still great for the fans. I think it was still better than the first movie, in my opinion. And I had a lot of fun with it, despite its shortcomings. You know, it's got that like sense of innocence from kids, but also that cool action-y qualities that you see from Sonic games. You know, and I can get by this Sonic. I can get by this Tails. I mean, Tails is pretty much the same for the most part, but Knuckles is kind of different here, and I can definitely tolerate this Knuckles as well. More than tolerate Knuckles. I actually do like Knuckles here too. He kind of reminds me of like a male Starfire. You know, that fish out of water sort of quality or trope. There is some misrepresentation from the trailers. I think you just go watch the movie, especially if you have the free trial still to use on Paramount Plus. Go ahead and use it, burn it. It definitely is a good way to catch this movie. That's because that's what I did, and I'm glad I did. You know, I'm glad I was able to catch my time with, or make my time for Sonic 2. I definitely was satisfied. I definitely can't wait for what it's setting up for the third movie. It's already been established and confirmed, and there is going to be a spin-off series for Knuckles. So I definitely can't wait to see all the future stuff for Sonic. Definitely am pleased with what they're going with it. I hope they improve on it, of course. So with that, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Great action, great characters, great usage of the major characters, while some of the side characters and like these other scenes were kind of just like shoveled in to try to make the moms or parents laugh with their kids. But you know, the whole pleasing everyone thing was a bit much. Definitely could have been smoothed out to actually make those minutes count for, well, what's important in this universe. Anyway, I'm going to go into the spoiler section now. Again, it's an 8 out of 10. Highly recommend it. Go watch it, especially when you have the free trial for Paramount Plus. So I am going to spoil things from here on out. So I'll see you guys in the spoiler bit. And for everyone else who have not watched the movie just yet, go on ahead and watch it, man. So I'll see you guys in the spoiler section. Okay, so we are in the spoiler section of Sonic 2. What I was referring to when it comes to the two major scenes were the dance-off, the dance battle, and the wedding. They went on for so long, for too long, in my opinion. I didn't like it. I know they're trying to have fun with it, but I think it could have been written differently. Now, but let's just say the dance scene had to be in there because of this and this and that. I did like that they sort of hinted of what Tails' abilities were, right? I guess that's a good way to. It's a clever way to sneak that in there, but with the hologram and stuff like that, he has hologram abilities and such. He has a lot of gadgets too, so yeah, kind of establishes what Tails is. With what he can do in this universe anyway. But regarding to the dance scene itself, I mean, leading up to that part was kind of funny, right? Because the translator kind of sucks, so it was mistranslating a lot of things, and there's a lot of misunderstanding going on. So the what is it, like the Russian slash Siberian waitress was kind of like taking it the wrong way, like what, like what'd you call me, and they were gonna like throw him into the fire and everything. But I feel like once they take off like the jacket and everything, like the coat of Sonic and Tails off, that could have been like the end point for that scene. It could have been, they could have been like, oh, you're that blue weird alien hedgehog thing from the videos. You know, you're such an inspiration for us. You know, we want to be like we see you as or we see you at least with as heroes and stuff. Blah 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 blah. Like it could have been like cliche, but it would I think it would work better. It makes sense. You know, it establishes how people around the world see Sonic, at least from one perspective anyway. And it won't take too long, but most importantly, and helps get the scene get along. You know, and then they could have partied hard and had fun, and then lead to the, you know, Tails, you know, putting out his tails for Sonic as like a blanket almost, and then, you know, and then lead up to the morning scene and such like that. That could have been fine. I would have definitely been fine with that, but the dance off was definitely unnecessary. While yeah, it was a way to sneak in like the sneak peek of Tails' abilities with the hologram and stuff like that. It went on for too long, especially with the music. Like, come on, man! Like, why Bruno Mars? Like, it would have easily been an opportunity to have like a remix of like one of the Sonic soundtracks. Maybe it could be a licensing issue between some of the singers and stuff like that, or the artists. I don't know, but it could have been. I guess it's possible, but I don't know. It's such a missed opportunity, and they could have been dancing to any of those, but no, it's just Bruno Mars. It was kind of just like trying to please like the kids of today, and I don't think even kids would find that like cool or funny or entertaining, or from what I've been hearing anyway. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're going to have a dance off, at least have the Sonic characters dance to the Sonic music. Like, come on, like that part could have changed the mood entirely, or how I feel about it. But went on for too long. It was kind of just dumb. It could have been entirely different if it were for like a different team of writers. So that's that. The next scene I wanted to talk about that could have been kind of different-ish was the wedding scene. I think like they just, it felt like they were going in on the wedding scene, but I guess there is a reason, because they wanted to somehow establish that Gun exists. You know, GUN, you know, Guardians of the United Nations. I think it's how it goes. But anyway, yes, they're Gun, which is from, yes, the Sonic games, which I did like. And with Gun, right, I like that I was able to forgive most of the wedding stuff, because Gun, to me anyway, provides a possible sneak peek or a foreshadow of sorts for, well, a certain character. So I want to save that for the end. So it's definitely a big foreshadow of sorts, because Gun was heavily featured in Sonic Adventure 2, so you know who I'm going with this. So that was like a huge forgiving quality for me because of Gun, but they could have been introduced in an entirely different way, or at least at least they could have been introduced later. I think in the movie, like they could have been introduced in the third act of the movie. I think that could have been still made some sense, and yeah, maybe that entire second act could have been done without, and it could have been like all that time could have been used for, again, the backstories for Tails and Knuckles, potentially, at least. Potentially for a good amount of time too. Yeah, that could have been well utilized. But anyway, yeah, but I guess what was presented here, like Manny's sister, was pretty funny. But then again, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's funny, but I can definitely do without it if they were going for something else. I can definitely look the other way for that. But yeah, that wedding scene was a bit much. They could have condensed it down. I know it's supposed to like feature like the I guess the groom as an agent of sorts, and it was all supposed to be like a fake or something like that. But he fell in love. What do you know? He fell in love with the woman, and his love would turn out to be real, I guess, right? And so I guess there's a happy ending there. But to say the least, it does establish Gunn in a dumb way, sure, but Gunn exists. And I like the commander really reminds me of I think his name was Leslie Nielsen. He was a comedy actor for the most part. He was featured in movies like I believe like Hot Shots Part 2 or Hot Shots, I think in general. He's like that old comedian. I think he long passed away, unfortunately, but this actor really reminds me of that person, and so it kind of does bring me back to that. So I guess it kind of reminds me of like Airplane, like those sort of movies, Hot Shots, that sort of thing. So I guess maybe that's why I'm kind of forgiving that. Back to the point, yeah. Gun exists, and the wedding thing was kind of dumb, a little silly for certain, but I guess it's established. Now let's sort of skip to the third act, because I do want to talk about those parts. So back to Dr. Robotnik's scene when he's all chaos powered and everything, and he's like about to march forward with the robot. He does like the leg guitar. I can't put my leg up to the camera because I'm not that flexible. But I cannot believe they missed the opportunity to pump up that Eggman theme from Sonic Adventure 2 for this Dr. Robotnik. Like, I could not believe it. How could they not think of that? I made a quick edit on Twitter, on my second channel. You can definitely go see that edit. I'll try to put it here or whatever. Here, whatever. I can't believe they did not do that. It's like, what the hell? It was an easy home run, and you swung and missed. And instead you put Walk from Pantera. Like, okay, cool. No, not cool, really, because it was such a missed opportunity. He even does the guitar and everything, and the music actually went pretty close with the beat. It's like, what the hell, it was such a missed opportunity, along with the rest of the movies too, with the soundtrack. When Sonic was going through the maze, when Sonic and Knuckles were fighting, and or just Sonic when he was running through the ocean and everything, could have been something, but they just missed the mark, I guess. Yeah, but what the other things that were present were pretty cool to say. Although I'm still pretty upset about Dr. Eggman's theme not being used in that scene. Because I edited that scene and uploaded it on Twitter and stuff like that. Like, it just makes me all the more upset. A part of me made me wish I didn't do that. But man, it's such a missed opportunity, right? But let's move on to the really cool part for the third act. Now, besides them, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails finally being a team, they team up and fight Robotnik with the robot and everything, and it was pretty. That was pretty awesome. I like the action sequence and everything, especially by the end of it. It brought out the Chaos Emeralds, and when they were circling Sonic, oh boy, you know what was coming. The fans knew what was coming, and as soon as he popped up, Super Sonic was so cool. Like the childhood in me, I was like, this is so cool, and It's something weird about like seeing something you already seen in the video game, but when it becomes a scene in the movie, something about it is just really cool. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, even though you've seen it before, if it's done, in a different media, it's just so cool. And same with, I guess you can say the same with the anime and stuff like that too, like Sonic X. But the movie definitely presented or debuted a Supersonic really well, especially with when it's just definitely like a taste of what's to come in the future. And yeah, Supersonic I hate to say, super awesome. And he especially when he goes around and crushing Dr. Robotnik's robot, like going crashing through him and stuff like that. The circling around and cutting the head off and everything, and like blocking the punch with his palm and everything. Oh, it was so sick. That was actually a really cool part of Supersonic, and just beats the living hell out of it, man. It was so cool. And I like the part with the chili dog and everything. That was really cool. I forget to mention too, I liked how detailed they were with the game lore too, even to the point where they even referenced Knuckles liking grapes, because that's his favorite food. I thought that was a nice little sprinkle in there of video game lore into a movie. But back on the Supersonic, it definitely does set up for something else in the future, possibly. With like Knuckles saying like, oh, he's not himself anymore and stuff like that. It could play a part of him if he uses too much of Supersonic. It could probably take over him, and he can probably go on a rampage, which could be it might be a reference from the comics, which would be pretty interesting to see if that comes to fruition in movie form. But for right now, he was himself. He kind of played it like a joke, and Chili Dog came down, and he tried to give one for Knuckles, and it just splats on his face and everything. So pretty much, Robotnik disappears. He goes off somewhere. So it's kind of like a nice workaround, I guess, in case Jim Carrey doesn't come back to Robotnik for the next movie. And and there's that scene with Stone kind of just in the background, because he's like undercover as like a soldier, or in disguise as a soldier for right now. And I think he would probably like the replacement for Robotnik. He would probably be Dr. Eggman for all we know. But however, we do have one thing to talk about, and that is the very, very end, which is the credit scene. Now, of course, a lot of people saw this coming, including myself, that Shadow was featured. Oh my God, Shadow was in here. When they were leading up to it, it was really cool. One of the soldiers was telling the commander, 50 years ago. I'm like, oh shoot, the magic words. And Shadow was somewhere in a secret base all along with Project Shadow. Now, it makes me think, or makes me wonder, how far they're gonna go with this. Are they gonna, how true they're gonna be from the video game on this part? Is he going to be created from just Black Doom, because that's how it was, or somehow there's another Hedgehog that came here, did whatever, right? They got his DNA somehow, or his or her DNA, and made a Shadow out of it. That could be it. Or Shadow could have been from another dimension, and they just kept him or something like that, and thus Project Shadow. That's how Project Shadow began. I wonder if they'll incorporate Maria, because that's a pretty important character for Shadow. It's like a very important driving point for him. Gerald Robotnik, I get that could definitely play a part for Shadow as well. But I think those two are for sure going to happen. Maria Robotnik and Gerald Robotnik for the Shadow Saga anyway. But I wonder if they will bring in Black Doom real quick in this one, because of what's going on with Jim Carrey, him considering retiring and stuff like that. So maybe they'll have that have Black Doom come in already, or just have Stone become funny enough Dr. Stone possibly, which is a reference from or some funny unintended reference to an anime that I've watched in the past. I think, yeah, Stone could likely replace him, honestly. I wonder if he can, you know, take up the mantle. Well, not entirely take up the mantle, but like, you know what I mean, like be, you know, a likable villain by the next movie. And I kind of like not talked about him too much because he didn't do much. I was hoping he would do a little more for Stone, besides being like a barista and like or cafe owner or whatever, and the bumbling sidekick for Eggman or Robotnik, you know. But hey, I mean, it's a two-way street for at this point. He could either be a sidekick or be the main villain, depending on Carrey. And also, you know, makes me wonder again, will they bring in Black Doom at this point? Because that's pretty early for Black Doom. But I also find it interesting that they haven't even tapped into like Perfect Chaos and everything like that, or Chaos itself. You know, the water creature thing, and or demigod. I'm surprised they haven't touched upon him just yet. Especially with, I guess, what happened with the Chaos Emerald and the Emerald by the end of it, or the Master Emerald by the end of it. And, you know, because it shattered at first and then he repaired it. And so, yeah. It definitely does make me wonder also how now the Chaos Emeralds will come into play. I imagine that, you know, the bad guy will try to get it, you know, that sort of thing. Pretty basic. But yeah, it does raise questions, definitely, for the third movie. Whether Dr. Robotnik will return. Will Stone be his replacement? Will Black Doom even play a part for this universe with Shadow and everything? And how Shadow would go about in general. And who will be voiced by, how is he utilized, how is he written, you know. There's a lot of little questions here and there, but the major ones, yeah, I mean, when it comes to Robotnik, Black Doom, Stone, and I guess for the rest of the crew, right? I mean, are we going to see Amy, you know, are we going to see Cream? How much of the new characters are we going to see here? I think yeah, I think it would be a pretty interesting third movie setting up here. Potentially, man, I do hope they start using the music, man. If there's going to be a point, that's gotta be it, man. Especially if Super Shadow and Super Sonic are on the same screen, they gotta blast Live and Learn, man. At least Live and Learn. So that's all I got. It's been an hour. I apologize for the long video, but I really like Sonic. I like this movie, you know, still, even despite the shortcomings and all that stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed it to the end. If you have any like things to talk about from the spoilers part of things, I mean, obviously put out the spoiler warning. But if you want to comment anything about Sonic 2, what do you guys think of it and all that stuff, leave it down below. And what do you guys hope for the third movie also? And what are your theories and all that stuff? Anything like that, comment section below, man. I love to read them. And for the rest of it, yeah, when it comes to, yeah, like and subscribe, do that. Notifications, hit the bell, all that stuff. Really appreciate it, guys. So that's it, man. That's the review for Sonic 2. Really glad to see it. I was able to, really glad to be able to see it on streaming. Now I'm a happy man. So thank you very much. I'll see you all in the next video. Sean out.